χρονιά συναντιόμαστε για να πούμε ένα μεγάλο ευχαριστώ στον Γεώργιο Παρασκευαΐδη. Έναν από τους ανθρώπους που αγάπησε αληθινά την Κύπρο και τον κόσμο της και συνέβαλε με το επιχειρηματικό και φιλανθρωπικό του έργο στην ευημερία του νησιού, στη δυσκολότερη συνθήκη που βίωσε ποτέ, δηλαδή την τουρκική εισβολή. Ευχαριστώ θερμά για ακόμα μια φορά την οικογένεια του Γεώργιου Παρασκευαΐδη, τη σύζυγό του Θέλμα και τα παιδιά του, τον Ευθύβουλο, τη Λεόνη και τη Χριστίνα, για την εμπιστοσύνη τους και την πραγματοποίηση της διάλεξης μνήμην του Γεώργιου Παρασκευαΐδη στο Πανεπιστήμιο Κύπρου. Χαιρόμαστε που φιλοξενούμε απόψε την κυρία Andrea Paula Leers, η οποία θα μας μιλήσει για την αρχιτεκτονική και το ρόλο της ως συνεχτικού κρίκου με το χθες και το αύριο. Θέλω να την ευχαριστήσω θερμά για την παρουσία και την ομιλία της σε αυτό το τόσο σημαντικό πλαίσιο. Όντως, η αρχιτεκτονική είναι σημείο αναφοράς για την ιστορία ενός λαού. Οι αρχιτεκτονικές δημιουργίες είναι τόποι συνάντησης των γενιών που έρχονται με τις γενιές που φεύγουν. Στον τόπο μας, ωστόσο, η διαχωριστική γραμμή της κατοχής μας χωρίζει από την Κύπρο στην οποία μεγαλώσαμε. Αλήθεια, πώς διατηρούμε ζωντανά στη μνήμη των παιδιών μας τα κατεχόμενα μας μέρη, την ιστορία, τους τόπους τους οποίους ανατραφήκαμε και που αποτελούν αναπόσπαστο κομμάτι του εαυτού μας. Ο Γεώργιος Παρασκευαΐδης ταξίδεψε την Κύπρο σε ολόκληρο τον κόσμο. Το παράδοξο σήμερα, η τραγική ηρωνία, είναι ότι οι Έλληνες της Κύπρου δεν μπορούν να ταξιδέψουν ελεύθεροι στο νησί τους. Μέσα στην οδυνηρή κρίση, στο Πανεπιστήμιο συνεχίσαμε το αναπτυξιακό μας σχέδιο, φέρνοντας στη βιβλιοθήκη ένα όνειρο γενναιών Κυπρίων ένα χρόνο πριν την ολοκλήρωσή της. Η νέα μας βιβλιοθήκη σύντομα θα αποτελεί ένα ορόσημο τόσο για το Πανεπιστήμιο όσο και για ολόκληρη την Κύπρο. Πρόκειται για ένα μοναδικό έργο πνοής που βάζει την Κύπρο στον Ευρωπαϊκό Χάρτη των Βιβλιοθηκών και της Κοινωνίας της Γνώσης. Ολοκληρώσαμε ήδη το πρώτο μας φωτοβολταϊκό πάρκο και ετοιμάζουμε τα αρχιτεκτονικά σχέδια για πολλά νέα κτίρια. Σύντομα θα τοποθετήσουμε το θεμέλιο λίθο της Πολυτεχνικής Σχολής, του κτηρίου Βιολογίας και της Ιατρικής. Η ανέγερση του μεγάλου φωτοβολταϊκού πάρκου στην νεκρή ζώνη πρόκειται σύντομα να ξεκινήσει. Εν μέσω της οικονομικής κρίσης, ιδρύσαμε νέα τμήματα, νέες ερευνητικές μονάδες, νέα προγράμματα σπουδών. Ιδρύσαμε τη Σχολή Μεταπτυχιακών Σπουδών. Θέσαμε σε λειτουργία την Ιατρική Σχολή, η οποία έχει δώσει μια νέα διάσταση στο ακαδημαϊκό μας ίδρυμα. Ταυτόχρονα προβήκαμε σε σημαντικές περικοπές που μας δυσκόλεψαν, αλλά εκλογήκευσαν τη λειτουργία μας. Εν μέσω της οικονομικής κρίσης, πολλαπλασιάσαμε τα έσοδά μας από ανταγωνιστικά προγράμματα της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης. Είναι ένα γεγονός που, όπως αντιλαμβάνεστε, μεταφράζεται σε εκατοντάδες νέες θέσεις εργασίας για νέους επιστήμονες. Δεν επιτρέψαμε στην κρίση να μας καταβάλει, οδηγώντας μας στη μεψημυρία και σε άγωνη διαμαρτυρία. Αντιθέτως, μέσα στην κρίση, με συντονισμένες ενέργειες, δημιουργήσαμε τη μεγαλύτερη ίσως προοπτική για την ολοκλήρωση της Πανεπιστημιούπολης, υπογράφοντας δάνειο 162 εκατομμυρίων ευρώ με την Ευρωπαϊκή Τράπεζα Επενδύσεων, το οποίο σε συνδυασμό με τα 100 εκατομμύρια από δικά μας έσοδα, δωρεές και διαρθρωτικά ταμεία, δημιουργούν τις συνθήκες εκείνες που θα επιτρέψουν εντός του 2015 να μετατρέψουμε την Πανεπιστημιούπολη σε ένα τεράστιο εργοτάξιο. Θέλω επίσης να τονίσω ότι το 80% του δανείου θα αποπληρώνεται από έσοδα, από ίδια έσοδα. Δεν θέλουμε να είμαστε ένας κρατικοδίαιτος οργανισμός. Δημιουργούμε λοιπόν την πόλη της γνώσης. Είναι ιδιαίτερα σημαντική η μετακόμιση όλων των σχολών του Πανεπιστήμιου Κύπρου στην Πανεπιστημιούπολη, το συντομότερο δυνατό. Το 2020 θα μας βρει έτοιμους για ένα πανεπιστήμιο των 10.000 φοιτητών, 600 ακαδημαϊκών και 2.000 νέων ερευνητών. Δεν είναι η γιγάντωση των μεγεθών αυτή καθ' αυτή που συναρπάζει, αλλά το γεγονός ότι αυτό θα συμβεί εν μέσω της χειρότερης κρίσης που έχει ζήσει ο τόπος μας από το 1974. Αυτές τις δύσκολες ώρες έχουμε όλη την ιστορική υποχρέωση να βάλουμε ψηλά τον πύχη στις συλλογικές φιλοδοξίες μας, τις προσδοκίες και τους στόχους για το καλό της πατρίδας μας, για να δημιουργήσουμε εκείνη την Κύπρο που θα μας δώσει πίσω την κατεχόμενη γη μας. Άλλωστε, στις δύσκολες ώρες, αυτό έκανε και ο Γεώργιος Παρασκευαΐδης. Δεν τελείωσε μπροστά στην καταστροφή, απόρρια της τουρκικής εισβολής. Αντίθετα, δημιούργησε για το καλό της οικογένειάς του, για το καλό του τόπου του. Και είμαι βέβαιος ότι ως δημιουργικός άνθρωπος θα ήταν περήφανος για αυτό που γίνεται σήμερα στο Πανεπιστήμιο Κύπρου. Η δική μας υπέρβαση, η υποχρέωση κάθε πατριώτη, όπως ήταν και ο Λαπιθιώτης Γεώργιος Παρασκευαΐδης, είναι να γίνουμε καλύτεροι και να δημιουργήσουμε μια Κύπρο ανοιχτή, με ποιότητα, με βάθος και με υψηλούς στόχους για το μέλλον. Αυτή θα είναι και η ιστορική και προσωπική δικαίωση των ανθρώπων που δημιούργησαν γενιά με γενιά έναν ολόκληρο και μοναδικό πολιτισμό σε αυτόν τον τόπο. Θέλω για μια ακόμη φορά να ευχαριστήσω την οικογένεια του αείμνηστου Γεώργιου Παρασκευαΐδη, τη σύζυγο του Θέλμα και τα παιδιά του Ευθύβουλου, Λεώνη και Χριστίνα, και τη συμβολή του στην πραγματοποίηση της διάλεξης. Είστε το σημαντικό κομμάτι του γόγου, καθώς η αγάπη για την οικογένειά του εκφραζόταν σε αγάπη για ολόκληρη την κυπριακή κοινωνία. Θυμόμαστε πάντα τους ευεργέτες μας. Δεν τους ξεχνάμε, τους εκτιμούμε βαθύτατα, τους ευχαριστούμε και τους αγαπάμε. Στις δύσκολες ώρες ανατρέχουμε στην παράδοσή μας. Θυμόμαστε αυτούς που αγάπησαν παράφορα τούτο τον τόπο και το απέδειξαν, όχι με λόγια, αλλά προσφέροντας απλόχερα για τις νέες γενιές.
Κυρίες και κύριοι, αγαπητοί φοιτητές και φοιτήτριες του Πανεπιστημίου Κύπρου, διαβιβάζω τις θερμές ευχαριστίες εκ μέρους της οικογένειάς μου και από εμένα προς το Πανεπιστήμιο Κύπρου και ιδιαίτερα προς τον πρίτανη κύριο Χριστοφίδη και τους συνεργάτες του για τη σημερινή τρίτη εκδήλωση εις μνήμη του Γεώργιου Παρασκευαΐδη. Η πρωτοβουλία του Πανεπιστημίου Κύπρου και η παρουσία όλων σας εδώ σήμερα είναι συγκινητική και τιμητική τόσο για τη μνήμη του πατέρα μου όσο και για την οικογένεια μας. Ιδιαίτερες ευχαριστίες στην κυρία Andrea Leers, η οποία τιμάμε τη σημερινή εκδήλωση με την παρουσία της και με την παρουσίαση του θέματος που εστιάζεται στη διασύνδεση του αστικού σχεδιασμού και σχεδιασμού υποδομών και πολυσύνθετων έργων με τις επιστήμες και τους πολιτισμούς. Έχοντας μελετήσει το πλούσιο βιογραφικό της κυρίας Leers, είμαι σίγουρος ότι θα μας χαρίσει μια πολύ πλούσια και ενδιαφέρουσα παρουσίαση. Η συμπλήρωση των έργων με υψηλή ποιότητα και αξιοπιστία έχει δημιουργήσει τις καλύτερες εντυπώσεις στους πελάτες, όπως κυβερνήσεις και μεγάλοι οργανισμοί, και είχε, πιστεύω, ανοίξει το δρόμο στη δεκαετία του 70 σε Κύπριους τεχνικούς, επαγγελματίες και επιχειρηματίες να επεκτείνουν τις δραστηριότητες τους στις χώρες του αραβικού κόλπου με πολύ μεγαλύτερες πιθανότητες επιτυχίας λόγω του σεβασμού που υπήρχε για τα επιτεύγματα κυπριακών εταιριών όπως την Ιωάννου και Παρασκευαΐδη στις χώρες αυτές. Ακόμη και σήμερα, ειδικά σε αυτές τις δύσκολες στιγμές που περνά ο τόπος μας, η καλή φήμη που διατηρεί η εταιρεία που ίδρυσε ο Γεώργιος και συνδημιούργησε ο Γεώργιος Παρασκευαΐδης σε όλες τις χώρες της Μέσης Ανατολής και του Αραβικού κόλπου, πιστεύω συνεισφέρει στην αποδοχή άλλων κυπριακών εταιριών που αναγκάζονται να ξενιτευτούν λόγω της κρίσης στην Κύπρο. Επιπλέον, η εργοδότηση από την εταιρεία πάμπολων Κυπρίων, η εργασία στο εξωτερικό, προσφέρει διέξοδο σε οικογένειες για την οικονομική επιβίωση τους. Πρέπει να γίνει βέβαια και μνήα των χωρών όπως το Σουλτανάτο του Ομάν, της Σαουδικής Αραβίας, Κατάρ, Ηνωμένα Αραβικά Εμιράτα, Ιορδανίας και άλλων χωρών του Αραβικού κόλπου και της Μέσης Ανατολής που αποδέχθηκαν και αποδέχονται τους Κύπριους και τις κυπριακές εταιρείες φιλικά. Το ότι έχει δημιουργήσει ο αείμνηστος Γεώργιος Παρασκευαΐδης έχει συνεισφέρει και συνεχίζει να προσφέρει στον τόπο του και τους συμπατριώτες του. Τελειώνοντας, θα ήθελα να εισηγηθώ σε όσους από εμάς περνούν δύσκολες μέρες, ειδικά τους νέους, να σκέφτονται το παράδειγμα ανθρώπων σαν τον Γεώργιο Παρασκευαΐδη, ο οποίος ξεκίνησε από μηδενική βάση και κατάφερε να επιτύχει πέραν, πιστεύω, και των δικών του προσδοκιών. Γι' αυτό, όποιες και να είναι δυσκολίες και όσο μεγάλες, δεν πρέπει να φοβόμαστε να επιχειρήσουμε και να επιμείνουμε στις προσπάθειές μας και στο τέλος θα επιτύχουμε.
Αγαπητοί προσκεκλημένοι, η Andrea Leers θα παρουσιάσει απόψε το έργο του μελετητικού γραφείου LWA, Leers Weinzapfel Associates, το οποίο ίδρυσε με τη συνεργάτριά της Leers Weinzapfel το 1982. Σε αυτή την περίοδο έργου, το γραφείο έχει βραβευθεί με πολυάριθμα κρατικά και διεθνή βραβεία, τόσο στην αρχιτεκτονική όσο και στον αστικό σχεδιασμό, και οι μελέτες του έχουν εκδοθεί και παρουσιαστεί παγκοσμίως σε σχετικές εκδόσεις και εκθέσεις. Το 2007 τιμήθηκε με το βραβείο για την καλύτερη μελετητική εταιρεία στη ΣΥΠΑ από το Αμερικανικό Ινστιτούτο Αρχιτεκτόνων, που αποτελεί την υψηλότερη τιμή που αποδίδεται σε αρχιτεκτονική εταιρεία σε εκείνη τη χώρα και η μοναδική φορά μέχρι σήμερα που έχει δοθεί σε γραφείο που έχει ιδρυθεί αποκλειστικά από γυναίκες. Ενώ εδώ και πολλά χρόνια κατατάσσεται ανάμεσα στις 50 καλύτερες εταιρείες σχεδιασμού στη ΣΥΠΑ από το ίδιο Ινστιτούτο. With this very short description of her personal achievements, I would like to close this introduction by quoting in part the evaluating committee statement in presenting her practice at LWA with the AIA Firm of the Year award. The quote goes, "The firm maintains a continuing commitment to enriching the public realm through work that celebrates and elevates social interaction, and for pursuing this commitment through its dedication to the science and craft of building, and in finding what form and detail can do to preserve and energize the spirit of a community and its people." Dear Andrea, welcome to Cyprus, and we look forward to your presentation.
Well, thank you very much, all of you, for your very, very warm welcome. Thank you to Professor Christofides and to Andreas Safides, who just made this warm welcome. I know there are many honored guests among you, and I won't begin to try to name them, but thank you all very much for coming. And please excuse my voice. I seem to have left it somewhere behind me. I'm honored here this evening to be giving your annual lecture. I know it honors a wonderful citizen, Gеώργιου Παρασκευαΐδη. I've been coached. And though I have not known the family before now, through the miracle of Google, I was able to learn a little about him and his exceptional contributions and accomplishments. I discovered he was trained as an architect before founding his J&P Construction and Engineering Company, and hence his support for the school. But I also discovered another connection, and I saw it out in the lobby just tonight. The foundation he and his wife Thelma created had close links to the Shriners Hospital in Springfield, Massachusetts, my hometown. My father, Robert Leers, was a very active member of that hospital, so I feel suddenly I have discovered some personal connection here, and the world is indeed a very small place. This evening I would like to talk about how the idea of connection across scales, across disciplines, and across cultures has been fundamental to our design work. It has also been the subject of research and investigation in my design studios at the Harvard Graduate School of Design. Our professor colleague there, Rafael Mineo, once described his architecture as contingent, that is, growing out of circumstance and events. With a similar intent, I like to use the word relational to describe our architecture, which is connected to and derives from specific conditions rather than being autonomous and disconnected. Here we are in our studio. My partner, Leers Weinzapfel, and I began our careers at a time when we were always one of 2 or 3 women in school and in the workplace. Today, things are different. In 1982, we joined to create our firm with a commitment to design excellence in the public realm, and gradually that interest expanded to the urban setting and the larger context. From the first, we were deeply committed to creating compelling places for individual and social interaction. And from the first, we had a passion for the craft and technology of building. 15 years ago, our longtime associate on my left, Josiah Stevenson, joined us as a principal, and this year we named Tom Chung behind me as our 4th principal. Unlike many young architects who begin with the design of houses, our first opportunities came in the realm of infrastructure, and we've spoken already this evening about your company's work in infrastructure. The Tobin Bridge Administration Building here, under the main bridge coming into the city of Boston, was one of our very first projects to rebuild in place, hanging under the roadway of the bridge. And the control center for the subway system in all of Boston, rebuilt on a 5-story building, a new 10-story structure on top of that. Both of these projects allowed us to discover the public impact and value of these engineering-dominant projects. Gradually, our work expanded into civic buildings. We've done a number of courthouses, such as this one, in the Boston area, multiple community recreation centers in underserved parts of the city of Boston, and finally, and most recently, many, many university projects, including this project for Harvard Science Center, an addition to a 1970s modern landmark building by Jose Luis Serd. And, for example, a fitness center at Smith College in Western Massachusetts, slipped in between 2 other gymnasia. So this was our background coming into the present time. Now, in parallel to our work in the office were the investigations I did with my students, and these parallel the profession at large. In a series of 9 studios from 2001 to 2011, we can see a development from building to city building, from building to landscape, across diverse cultures. The top 3 studios were the earliest ones: cultural houses for Trinity College, theater at the Hasty Pudding Club at Harvard, and Japan Transfer, a Japan cultural center in the heart of downtown Boston. The next group were all about the city, building in the city. And the first, Extending Modernism in the Monumental City, was about the city of Washington, D.C.'s waterfront. Then we turned to a great project in Paris, the tribunal, the main tribunal for downtown Paris. That was the next project. And then, farther afield still, in Tokyo, a district, historic district of the city known for its education and its book center, and we did a study of that development. Finally, the studios focused on the campus itself, so I was very interested today to see your new campus evolving, and we explored not only these campuses which are proposed for outside the city of Paris in several locations, but also looked at the precedent of many campuses over time and around the world. The first group, just quickly to share with you some of my students' work, were smaller structures in which the tectonic, the building fabric was the real subject, and its relationship in its environment. So this was at Trinity College in Connecticut, a series of small houses for different cultural groups, Latin American, Asian, and Jewish groups. But the students studied details of models as well as how that would fit into the campus setting. The second studio was a theater tucked into the fabric of Harvard Square for the Harvard campus. Students looked at what it would be like in the fabric of the city and what it would be like in detail. And at this time, you can see we were doing all physical models, physical drawings. And the third of these small projects was a Japan house for the Cultural Center in Boston. One site we chose was in the Back Bay, a very low, graceful, French-inspired, Parisian-inspired part of our city. And one was right downtown in the financial district. The same program, what would it be like on 2 sites? The middle group of studios really began to examine the nature of building in the city. And at that time, Harvard faculty and others were beginning to publish works on this subject, so it was very much part of the professional expansion. We looked at the southwest waterfront of the city of Washington, developing, which is under development now, developing mixed-use housing, retail, hotels, and how to recapture the water's edge. We looked at the new major courthouse at the center of Paris, tucked in behind the new Grande Bibliothèque and a cultural relic of an old warehouse. And this student, for example, chose to make a tower for that courthouse. We looked at the sector in Tokyo, at a mixed-use development in that very dense area, which would allow smaller streets and old structures to be retained. And the final series of studios we looked at were prompted by the international look at the metropolitan area of Paris called Le Grand Paris. And part of that look at the larger part of Paris was the proposal of 12 new campuses around France. So we looked at 3 of those. We looked at, and this map shows the original site for the courthouse that we first looked at, one of the campuses north of the city, and 2 down in what is called the Plateau of Saclay. And here in the northern campus, just north of the bounds of the city, in an old warehouse district, students looked at a campus that was linear, several blocks, and which contained all of the buildings around. In this case, the students proposed an underground library. So a very compact campus. The second studio was on the Saclay Plateau, about 40 minutes to the west of Paris. It's currently the site of a tremendous amount of energy. It will be their new science center for the nation. And we looked at one of several sites for developing this vast elevated plateau, very unusual site. And the final studio looked at another site on that plateau and how to combine industry as well as many new schools. So this was the work of the studios, integrating finally landscape, architecture, urban design, campus planning. And these were the kinds of connections that we explored through the work at school, but paralleled really our own work as well. So turning to our own work and some of the ways that we have explored this, I'll share with you a few of our most recent projects. The first of which is a very small but very, very important building, the front door to the Massachusetts General Hospital. Many of you may have heard of that. It's one of the state's great hospitals. It's a city in itself, right in the heart of Boston, but it has no visible front door. It had no visible front door. And one of its surgeons determined that a small museum talking about and explaining to the public the research, the inventions, and the projects that went on at the university was in order. And he funded, private funded, a museum for medical history and innovation. And here it is right in the middle of the city, very prominent, and it has become the front door to the medical campus. And here you can see it in the context of all of Boston, the Charles River here, the Boston Common here, this back by Beacon Hill, right here, the oldest part, one of the oldest parts of Boston. And all of this is the medical campus. And here's our little front door, the museum. So it's a small building in a large context. And so we dealt with both the scale of the building and the scale of the city. It is adjacent to the historic fabric of Beacon Hill, an all-brick building, and we used, in this case, copper to echo the color, but not the material of that area. And here you can see the actual place you go into the hospital, but this really stands for the front door. Inside, on the ground floor, are some wonderful exhibits about the history of the hospital and its many breakthrough research. The second floor is flexibly used for regular gatherings, seminars, conferences, but also celebrations and parties. And then the top is a roof garden, which is itself an oasis in the campus and in the city, and not only used by the staff, but also visitors to family in the hospital, and it's a healing and quiet place. Beautiful spot on the roof. And there it is at night. It's now beginning to get a darker shade of copper. I understand copper was one of the first original resources of Cyprus. I just learned that. Another important, if small, building in the middle of the city is this building for Harvard. It's for the library services. It is the conservation lab and the IT support for the 90 libraries which constitute the Harvard library system. And it's in a very dense spot in the middle of Harvard Square. It is also Harvard's very first gold LEED building, which means that it is a highly sustainable and demonstrable building. It is very carefully scaled to its intimate neighborhood, although it's a very clearly modern building, open to the street on the north side where there's not too much heat gain, and more closed around the south, east, and west. Skylights at the top bring light into the conservation lab. And here is the study that helped us to connect this small building to its larger context, looking at the interval of buildings along that street and their variety, and finding the right volume, the right size, the right space between, in order to make this building feel as though it belonged here and very much of its own time. So there it is, sitting among the variety of architecture at the edge of the Harvard campus, through the block little garden pathway. Inside the conservation lab, their skylights are automatically modulated for the time of the day, and very, very open. Here's the heart of the sustainable thinking, open on the north side, top light for the conservation, and shaded light on the south side. And the heating and cooling is all achieved through a thermal well, geothermal well system. And this is right in the heart of Harvard Square, so it was quite a step forward for them. And at night, it's a kind of beacon. The town was very, very happy because it felt as though Harvard had not walled itself off to the city, and it really welcomed passersby. There's a bookstore on the ground floor, and then here's the, oops, sorry, and the passage through on this side. So those were two small buildings that really had to respond not only to building scale, but city scale and fit. A number of our projects are really very integrated with either engineering or sustainable thinking or landscape. And this is really an important aspect, I think, of all of our work today. Designing across disciplines. One of our most interesting projects is a chiller plant for the University of Pennsylvania. This is a piece of infrastructure that had no home. Nobody wanted it in their backyard. Big, big structure, 600 feet long, and it took the place of a former athletic field. And so what we were able to do, and surrounded, of course, by highways and railroads, a kind of real marginal site, impossible site, you could say. So how to fit this enormous piece of infrastructure and save as much athletic activity as possible? We used a screen oval to wrap the equipment box, whose size was given, was fixed, and that allowed us to arrange it on the site to make space for a baseball field. So the two curved objects were able to fit into this site by arranging them. And here you can see the site itself was a kind of teardrop shape. Here's the chiller plant, and here's the baseball field, just nested together. And the screen wall that encloses this has a very ephemeral quality during the day. And around the periphery of the chiller plant is 1/4 mile running track. So it was also a place that could be part of the athletic scene. In between the outer screen and the inner building, we had spaces like this. And then by night, it is a glowing presence from across the river. It's actually at the gateway to one of the gateway entrances to the campus. And inside, the equipment is all color-coded so that it can be seen. And so what might have been a real eyesore or a difficult piece of equipment to find a home for has really become a landmark. And when it opened, the president of the university decided to have the Christmas party there because it was such a celebratory space. We're in the middle of working on a very interesting project driven by infrastructure. This is a new campus for the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, a very fine university, which is creating a science campus at the site of a decommissioned private airfield. And the plan for the campus is using the airstrip basically as a green mall, and the campus is arranged around it. And the first building of the campus will be right here, and we are designing a Center for Health Sciences Research, a collaborative research building, an innovative building in itself and at a kind of cornerstone of the campus. We quickly determined that in order to make it truly collaborative, we would need to have, and there are about 1,000 researchers here, we would need to have shared meeting spaces as well as lots and lots of workspaces, individual. And we configured, these are many studies that we did, we configured a building which would be in two parts, an individual work part and a meeting part joined by an atrium. The landscape itself is very interesting because it is completely a working landscape, and the stormwater management allowed us to create a pond and a garden on the south side of the building. And here's the way the building is organized, with the common meeting spaces here and the workspaces here. And in a very innovative model for university, we have private offices inboard around the core and at the periphery, but most of the workspaces are open so that everyone has daylight on both sides of the core. This was a real sea change in thinking for the departments. The deans were determined to have a borderless, these are 11 different research units coming, they were determined to have a borderless building for collaborative research. And this is the space between the private or individual spaces on the right and the meeting spaces on the left. Now let's see if I can get this walkthrough to work here. I might need some help. Oh, here we go. Okay. So here we are walking through the front, the entrance, and this is in the atrium space that joins the two sides. We're going up to the research levels, and that main stair is the connector for all of the spaces of the building. On the right, the individual workspaces, which are, you're seeing the open part, and then the offices, and in between the blocks, looking straight through out to the garden. This is a very early study model. And here we are back at the space joining. And now we're looking to the right at the common spaces, the meeting spaces. We're flying up on a magic carpet. So this central space really is a place where everyone can see everyone and really begin to think about how they might collaborate out and research and what their spaces might do. So there were plenty of daylight all through the whole building. Here we are moving toward the south, overlooking the garden, and on the south side, the open workspaces. So this was really a major shift in paradigm for, let's see if I can close that now. So the face on the greenway side, this is the old runway side, is very open, again, north-facing. And in our climate, more or less, the north can be very, very open because it's easy to heat and it can get the benefit of full light, daylight. So this is the conference side, and here's the south side, full of sun shading devices, but views of the garden and a kind of embrace of the garden. On the south side, the cafe overlooks that garden, and on the north side, a commons area joins the greenway. A project that is of maybe some interest to you as you're thinking about your future campus here is a pair of humanities buildings for the University of Connecticut. These two buildings form and frame, together with their landscape, the heart, the center of the campus. This is an agricultural school at its origin, and now a very strong school in the sciences and the biological sciences. And we're looking in the foreground at the courtyard of one of the buildings toward, in the distance, the other. And here you can see, I think, how much these two buildings shape the center. This is largely a classroom, an auditorium building. This is largely departmental offices and research with classrooms at the ground level. And this building lines one of the crossroads, and here is the other. And this S-shaped building creates two courtyards within it. The classroom building is in 2 volumes with copper-wrapped large auditoria, and then smaller building in the distance, and with a green roof between the two, and a big stair and public gathering, active space in between. This is the heart of the undergraduate curriculum, all of the classes. Every student takes the required humanities classes in these buildings, so very, very active. And the faculty building has 2 courtyards, the inner courtyard lined again with the copper and the outer with brick, and a landscape joins both of these. So in any moment, inside or outside, you're enjoying this connective landscape. And the landscape, again, is all about sustainable design for stormwater management. There are rain gardens to collect and distribute the water, and the runoff comes into these areas, cleans and filters the soils below, and makes a very beautiful landscape that changes with the seasons and really brings the 2 buildings together. We have permeable paving, so all of this is about using native plants and using the landscape and the architecture as one place. Currently, we're working on a building of tremendous interest. It is a design building for the University of Massachusetts at Amherst College, at Amherst, city of Amherst. And it is a building for the now dispersed departments of architecture, landscape architecture, and building technology, who have never been together. They're going to be together in this building. And what's very exciting is that they're going to cross-fertilize their fields in order to really enjoy the collaboration that being together will bring. And here we're looking at the primary entry and face of the building, which rises above and opens to a cafe on the ground floor. It's at a key point in the campus. here opposite a main mall, and here part of the older part of the campus, and you can see in red the historic smaller buildings of the old campus, and in blue the big buildings of the 1970s, and it's really a kind of pivot point between those two parts of the campus. And this means that we're thinking not only of the building and its several users, but also its role in the whole campus. And in fact, there's a passage right through the building for the whole campus. Again, the landscape is an integral part of thinking about all of this. This is a hilly site. It drops a full floor from one side to the other, and actually a lot like your campus does. I noticed that today. And so the drainage, the water running off, is used and collected in these rain gardens, making a beautiful landscape feature as well as doing the work of managing stormwater. And it's a building with a coiling shape, coiling and rising shape. The ground floor are common big spaces, cafe and big meeting spaces, and then offices, classrooms, and studios wrap around a central space. And at the top, a courtyard garden, which will be used by the landscape people for experimental plant materials. And in terms of material, the base is all glass. We are working with the building technology group to do the very first demonstration all-wood structure for this building. It will be an engineered timber structure resulting from their research in this area, and it's a demonstration as a possible form of building, both sustainable and economical, for the whole campus. So that's what we're seeing here, and then across the big space, a wooden truss, and the whole building is wrapped in a copper-toned anodized aluminum panel. So here's how it all works. Here's the common space that is the pathway through the campus, the wood truss that frames it, the studios on one side, the courtyard above, skylight in the middle. So every part of the program has a special expression within the building. So that main space, which actually brings you the floor down from the uphill side of the building to the lower, actually becomes the kind of display gallery for meeting and studios and crits. And here's the beautiful wood, what they call a zipper truss above, and the main stair rising up through it to each of the floors. The main space can be configured in a number of ways to have multiple crits, lectures, public events, celebrations. We know they'll think of a lot of things that we didn't even imagine. And here it is, the studio wing rising up above the cafe opening to the campus. So this is a very exciting demonstration of sustainable design for the whole campus, using the research and material of the very users who will be in the building. Finally, I'd just like to share with you our experience in designing across cultures. I've always been fascinated myself in what we learn about our own culture by observing, living in, and absorbing others. And here we've had two opportunities to do some studies in far afield places in Taiwan and more recently in Paris, outside of Paris. In Taiwan, in the city of Hsinchu, sometimes called the Science City. It was the location of a university established by the group that followed Chiang Kai-shek out of mainland China in the 50s. The campus was established on the model of MIT. It was meant to be a technology campus. And the campus the school quickly outgrew this campus and moved to another location, leaving the smaller campus waiting for further development. And the idea for this campus became a new biotech center. And what we see here is the original north gate of the campus, a very low-scale park-like entry, and then round the rear of the campus, a real commercial street, a future new gate for the campus. Now, what they took from the idea of campus and installed in 1950 was very interesting. They had the idea of a big lawn, that a space made the campus. And it was interesting. The buildings were not much, but they decided that having a big green lawn lined with fabulous, huge banyan trees was the way to establish a campus. Then everything could grow around that, and it did. And so what is very interesting here is that the notion of the campus was there from the beginning, even though it was never very developed. And that was what was enabling us to think about the future development of this campus. And what we have here is a new structure with new, bigger buildings at one end, the older buildings at the other, but continuing that structure. And I often say that campuses are about 50 to 70% open space. Campuses are not mostly buildings. Campuses are actually spaces. It's what the word campus means. And so when we think about campus, we really need to think about shaping the common spaces. So we introduced a new gate and relocated this road, allowing there to be development sites for the new buildings. We connected those gates with more of the continued big banyan tree LA. We intersected that with a cross street, which would become the place for the living spaces, the residence halls. We had a village scale, the small buildings at one end, the new buildings, the city scale at the other. And there was a short-term plan for development of the new biotech building there, a future clinic, and the renovation of the original building here, and then the full campus plan, which allowed for housing along this axis, many new buildings along either side of the lawn, and a complete through zone in the middle. And again, let me see if I can, oops. Hold on, if I can activate this. Marina, give me a hand here. Again, oh, here we go. Here we go. This will allow you to just have a quick overview of that was the big green space, the original entry. We added a new marker, clock tower. That was the original building of the campus. And the original lawn with the big banyan trees. These really don't do justice to the enormity of those trees. And the biotech building, which is clearly seen in the distance here, coming into it from the original gate. Let's see if we can, going inside, the biotech building itself. I'll get it before the night is over. Here we go. So this was the biotech building itself with wet labs on the lower levels and dry labs in the tower, and the common spaces at the center, and a real kind of colloquium space at the center of it all. And this was going to be the first of the new buildings on this realized campus, this recaptured campus. There will be a cafe on the ground floor. Looking back, you can see the big trees in the distance. And then a series of study lounges at the top, and then the tower with the dry labs. So these were the study spaces, and again, the common spaces with laboratories on the left and offices on the right. Very active space, and again, you can see from this building and the Carolina building the importance of coming together spaces. And the rational organization of the laboratories is essential, but the spaces between, these are the laboratories themselves. What we know from university planning today is that there are fewer and fewer big lecture halls and big classrooms, more and more small study spaces, more and more social space, more and more places where people gather with a cup of coffee, a computer, and 3 or 4 people to work on a problem together. So the notion of classroom or not has really, really altered. It has really evolved in a way that makes these gathering spaces really the heart of learning, the learning and exchange of information. And that's the top space of the library. And that's just a final view coming in from the new gate of the biotech research building with the low wet lab portion of the building and the tall tower for the labs, the dry labs. Finally, I would just share with you an outgrowth, actually, of one of my design studios is our participation in an international team with a developer-led competition for a whole new campus on the north edge of Paris. It's a series of blocks, 5 blocks in this area, which will form a new campus for the social sciences composed of 11 different component schools, all of whom have run out of space in the center of Paris. And the school will have a library, which will not be part of our competition, which will be separate, but a conference center, several research buildings, housing, and athletic facilities. We are working on this block here, which will be a research building for 1,000 researchers, very similar to the North Carolina area. The campus cafeteria, a little bit like the complex and student center, a little bit like your university has, and housing. There's a Japanese member of our team, 2 French, and our team. So it's ongoing. Therefore, I'll be a little bit discreet about what it is, but here's our research building and the north gate to the campus. Some of the in-between gathering spaces for the researchers, and the campus dining and student activities area, which is a kind of extension of the landscape. And the notion of this campus really is a series of linked green paths. It's a long linear campus, and so rather than a big lawn or an incredibly large central space, this is going to be a campus which has a series of linear green gardens, and that will be the unifying idea. So in this block, that green path goes all the way through and exits in the north gate of the campus. So I think I must have taken more time than I should, but I'll just conclude by saying, when we began our practice, our work was centered on the design of self-contained buildings in our home community of Boston. This was how we learned our craft. Since that time, the revolution in digital technology, the urgency of increased urbanization, and the awareness that we are overusing our one planet's resources have dramatically altered the nature of practice. Today, we are working simultaneously at multiple scales, from the carefully crafted object to extended territories. We're weaving together the thinking of previously separate disciplines to create ensembles of building, landscape, and infrastructure. We are working across cultures to find connections and distinctions between the urban and social contexts of Boston, Paris, Tokyo, and Taiwan. Today, our tools and collaborations have dramatically changed, but our fundamental concern remains the same: making connections between people and place, between history and the future, and between the conceptual and the tectonic. Thank you.
Τα κριτήρια αξιολόγησης των προτάσεων ήταν η ακαδημαϊκή επίδοση, η ερευνητική ποιότητα της πρότασης και οι πιθανότητες επιτυχούς υλοποίησης της πρότασης με βάση ρεαλιστικά, χρονικά και οικονομικά δεδομένα. Το βραβείο εις μνήμη Γεώργιου Παρασκευαΐδη απονέμεται φέτος στην Ελευθερία Ξερού για την εισήγησή της με τίτλο «Εναλλακτικές πόλεις». Η πρόταση συνδυάζει δύο επίκαιρες θεματικές, τη διαμόρφωση νέων μορφών κοινότητας και την χρήση εναλλακτικών μορφών διακίνησης όπως το ποδήλατο. Οι επιλογές προορισμού του εκπαιδευτικού ταξιδιού είναι εξαιρετικά σχετικές με τις δύο θεματικές που επέλεξε να διευρευνήσει η φοιτήτρια. Οι τρεις περιοχές που θα επισκεφθεί είναι το Άμστερνταμ, η Κοπενχάγη και η Εύβοια και εκεί θα συγκρίνει τόσο σύγχρονες όσο και παλαιότερες πρακτικές συλλογικής κατοίκησης. Το βραβείο εις μνήμη Γεώργιου Παρασκευαΐδη θα απονείμουν ο καθηγητής Κωνσταντίνος Χριστοφίδης, πρίτανος του Πανεπιστημίου Κύπρου, και η κυρία Λεώνη Παρασκευαΐδου Μαυρονικόλα, οι οποίοι καλούνται να προσέλθουν στη σκηνή για την απονομή. Και καλείται και η Ελευθερία Ξερού να προσέλθει.